Hey you guys, I want to make a video with a specific focus on men who have their life together and they don't own their sexuality, so they get friend zoned or they get taken advantage of by women because they haven't found their own boundaries. They're kind of like people pleasers. And I have made videos before about why women in long term relationships lose sexual desire for their husbands who are people pleasers. And I'm going to extend the same thing now to men who are single and who want to date, because you cannot build attraction to a woman if you're a people pleaser. Now, why is this? It seems so unfair. I'm such a nice guy. Why isn't she attracted to me? I'm so nice. Nice in this language that we're using it means a lack of boundaries, a lack of self-respect, and seeking approval. And that's not nice. It's not respectful to yourself or to the woman that you're seeking approval, and some of you may not even know that you're doing it. Dr. Robert Glover, in his book Dating Essentials for Men, and also in his book No More Mr. Nice Guy, talks about this, but he doesn't talk about it to the extent that I want to talk about it in terms of building sexual attraction. I'm going to go a little bit of a step further and say that building sexual attraction is not just about going out with women who are interested in you. It also requires you to own your sexuality. And I think a lot of men these days are taught that their masculinity is toxic. Don't believe these people. Your masculinity is your most valuable asset, and it's what a healthy woman craves. Your strength, your leadership, your guidance, seeing you do manly things, owning your lust. And a masculine man is in control of his sexuality. So I see these, I'm going to give you two extremes that a man can be in his sexuality. One is he abuses it by putting it out there inappropriately, approaching women online just trying to fuck them, or going up to women just trying to fuck them, or assaulting someone in a sexual way. Having no empathy, having no regard for the environment or whether someone is interested. At the other extreme, we have men who have subdued their sexuality. They've suppressed it. They've suppressed it for a number of reasons. They have disowned it because they associate their sexuality with violence. There is this, okay, so for men naturally like to be dominant in the bedroom. I don't like submissive guys, okay? I think there's something wrong with them, honestly. If they're submissive, every time there's something has gone wrong, in my opinion, okay? But if you like submissive men, watch another video, because this isn't the channel for you. Most men do like to be dominant, but they're told, or they feel. So when a man is dominant, he has to bring in his masculine energy. He's got to be a little bit more physical, a little bit more physically aggressive. A little bit. I'm not talking about slapping a woman in the face. That's also unhealthy. I'm just talking about healthy physical aggression, like you're kind of wrestling or toweling with someone. And when that comes up for them, that scares them. I think some men are scared by that because they had an abusive father, and they associate any kind of physicality with rage, okay? Or they had a single mom who was like, don't, be nice to women, don't take advantage of women the way that these men take advantage of me. So they make a decision. I'm not going to be sexual because women do not like sex. Women do not want to be objectified. Well, a healthy woman is a sexual being. Okay, so as a healthy woman, I want a man that I'm attracted to first to value me as a woman, to respect me, okay? If he just sees me as sex, he's over here in this category. Okay, I want him to see me, all of me. I want him to see my intelligence, my creativity, my feelings, my physicality, and my sexuality. If you don't see my sexuality, I can't feel attracted to you. Now I'm going to friend zone you, but the only way you can feel my sexuality is to feel your sexuality. I feel my sexuality all the time. So when I get around men who don't give themselves permission to feel their sexuality, and the world is full of these men, um, I don't feel a sexual attraction. Okay, so what men have to do, in my opinion, is to be comfortable with their sexuality, to own their lust, to feel it in their body, and to be like, I'm a man, I have testosterone, I like sex, I like women, I own this, to not push it aside. And then when you get to be around women, is to allow yourself to feel your sexual interest in that woman instead of suppressing it. Because when you suppress it, you're telling yourself, okay, I shouldn't objectify women. I shouldn't like women for sex. I shouldn't like sex. I should respect her. It's not respectful to me that you don't lust after me as a whole woman. Because in a relationship, you got to have the sexual tension. Without sexual tension, it's kind of flat. The relationship doesn't have any juice. So you have to appreciate each other on all levels, including the sexual level. And I think a lot of men don't know how to be with that sexual energy. So, and maybe a lot of women don't either. Like, you can overuse it. Like, women can overuse their sexual energy to try to get a guy by hooking him in, just being overly sexual, or by not having their sexuality totally dialed down. I think we have to be somewhere in the middle. Like, I'm a sexual being. And for women, we want a man that leads, that guides, so that we're security-seeking creatures. Dr. Robert Glover says it too. It's not just me. Don't come after me and say, oh, it's all about these women. No, because you as the guy get to own your sexuality, and then we get to surrender to it and submit to it. And it has a lot to do, too, with not being a people pleaser. Because we get turned on by you having boundaries. It's your boundaries is one of the things that turns us on. So when you don't have boundaries, now I have to be in control. Now I have to lead. So I can't feel my desire for you. Now, you might say it's not fair, but we're animals. When it comes to sex, we're animals, okay? It's instinctive. So I want to know that you're interested in me, okay? I want to feel your gaze and your interest. I want to feel that you desire me and that you're in command of the situation, so turnoffs. These are some turnoffs. If you do this, constantly smiling is a turnoff, and a lot of women may not realize why they're turned off to a guy who's constantly smiling, because he's approval seeking. He's not leading. Because when people are turned on, they're not smiling, they're turned on. It's intense. You got to be comfortable with that intensity of like, I'm turned on right now and I own it. It could just be the way you look at someone. It doesn't mean groping them. It can just be the way you look. Like, I'm turned on and I own it. If you're constantly laughing, now you're seeking my approval. You're not in your sexual energy. I got to feel your sexual energy and your sexual interest. And guys who are nice guys, the biggest problem they have is they don't own their sexual energy. I had a roommate years ago, because I was like, when I had a roommate years ago, and he liked this woman. And he was the nice guy. She had a boyfriend who treated her like he was a jerk. She didn't like him, and she would call my friend up to come over whenever she wanted to hang out and talk. And he would hang out and talk with her all night. She would just talk, and he would listen. And he was hoping that one day all of his listening would convert into her finally seeing what a great guy he was, and she would be attracted to him and want a relationship with him, because he really liked her. He didn't want to just fuck her. But it never happened, and it never will, because he was a people pleaser. And I know why he was a people pleaser. He grew up, abandoned by his parents and all that. But that was the problem. And a lot of women will go for these jerks. That's unhealthy too. But these guys, as a guy, you have to be a little bit aloof and not care what the woman wants in order to be true to yourself. And the women have to do this too. We have to be able to say no, and to say, well, this is what I prefer, and this is what I prefer, without being afraid that you're going to abandon us. And I think a lot of men like that in a woman too, is a woman who can say, well, I prefer this, or I don't really like this, and this is how I really feel. And especially, I know I need this in a man. I know I need this in a man. And I think the reason my marriage lasted so long, 25 years, is because I was with a man who was very comfortable saying no. A lot of those no's were no's that made me like, they were no's that had to do with him wanting to be emotionally walled off, like, don't get too close, Sharzad. And that was the reason why I ultimately left him. But I respected him because he wasn't going to do anything he didn't want to do, and he had boundaries. And boundaries are super important. You know, if I'm in a social situation with a gentleman and I have to be the one to make the decisions about where we go or where we sit, or, you know, starting a conversation about something, and I have to take control, now it loses the attraction. Like, I want to know that you're in control, because when it comes to sex, you got to be in control in the bedroom. If I want a guy to be dominant in the bedroom, he's got to be able to take the leadership in the dating and social interactions too. And one thing I do with men sometimes, with men that I've dated, is, and women will do this, they'll test you. Now, why are we testing you? It turns us on. It turns us on when we say something and you give us a boundary. Like, it's a turn on, because it reminds us, oh, it creates that polarity dance again. Like, oh, you're in charge. You're a man that has boundaries. You're a man I can count on. You're a man I can depend on. You're a man I can relax into. Because otherwise, now I'm in charge and I'm the caretaker. And caretaking, okay, this is what you got to know. Sexual attraction isn't just about how you look and how much money you have. It's about the energy that you have and being confident in yourself. Love does not create desire. I might love you, but that doesn't mean I want to fuck you. Love does not create desire. Comfort does not equal desire. Nourishing energy doesn't create desire. In fact, nourishing energy is the opposite of desire. If I feel like I'm responsible for your feelings, or that you're looking to me for approval, now I'm in a caretaker mode. I can't feel my sexual desire when you're looking to me for approval. And it's very subconscious. I don't think that a lot of people pick up on this, but I'm very aware of this because I think about this stuff. And there has to be, you know, like, okay, if I go to dinner with a gentleman and I order this certain wine, and now he orders that wine because he's just copying me, that's kind of a turn off. You know, okay, so if the waitress comes up and this is something that's happened to me years ago, she comes up and, you know, I've already looked at the menu and I know which wine I want, but he hasn't, because, you know, he was maybe getting back to some work emails or something. He hasn't looked at that menu, or maybe he was looking at the dinner menu instead. So the waitress comes up and asks what we want to drink, and I say, well, I would like this particular wine. And then he says, oh, I'll have that too. Instead of saying, you know, give me a moment, come back in a couple minutes. I'm going to still think about this. That would be a turn on if he says, give me a couple moments, because he really needs a couple moments. But he doesn't feel comfortable asking for the couple moments because he thinks I might not like it, or he's seeking my approval, and he's not giving, you know, he doesn't feel he deserves the time or the space. He'd be like, I need a couple moments. And then he looks at the menu, and then if I try to talk to him, he'll be like, just a moment. I'm going to look at this wine list. He's got to give me a boundary. And now I feel, oh, this guy's in charge of himself. Ooh, he's giving me boundaries. I like it when a guy gives me boundaries because it makes me feel more secure. When a guy gives me a boundary, I feel more secure. Because, how can I explain it? You know, if you never tell me no, I don't know that your yeses are real. There's something that happens in us when we give people boundaries. It's the same as with parents. When we're parents, we have to give our kids boundaries. It makes them feel secure. And kids that never get any boundaries end up kind of messed up in life because they want to know that there's a structure. Like, that's how we establish relationships with anyone. We want to know where someone's boundary is so that we know where we stand. It makes people feel more secure in the relationship, whatever kind of relationship there is, whether it's at work or at school. Like, you want to know what's okay and what isn't okay. In the mating dance, it's especially important. And I do like men to be respectful and empathetic, and I want them to have a boundary, and I want them to be in touch with their sexuality in a healthy way. I don't like it when guys on a dating app come right out of the gate inviting themselves over or sexualizing me. That's a turnoff. But also, if they never own their sexuality, that's a turnoff too. So I guess what I'm saying is, in order to create sexual attraction in a woman, you have to own your sexuality, which a lot of guys don't. They're told it's toxic, or women don't want sex. So they disown their sexuality to gain the approval of the woman. They're approval seeking. They go around smiling a lot. They don't take the lead. They don't say no. They don't assert their physicality. They repress their sexuality because they're told it's toxic. And there's very little sex happening anymore. Have you read the statistics? Like 40% of men under 30 haven't had sex in the last year, and they don't care if they ever do. You know, we've got to get back in touch with our sexual vibe. And the other thing I want to say too is there are also a lot of men going around just having sex because they're completely cut off from their emotions. And if they're cut off from their emotions, the only time they can feel anything at all closely resembling an emotion is when they're sexual with a woman who invites them into feeling something sensual that's close to love and affection. You know, we have to develop ourselves as whole human beings. And, you know, I'm working on a lot of this stuff myself. I'm reading this book right now, The Language of Emotions. And I'm learning more to go by how I feel. My feelings give me a lot of information. I used to do this with guys. That's what I used to do. I'm just waking up to my own negative habits now at the age of 61, but I have spent many years of my life longing for guys who want nothing to do with me, because I was going, as I think a lot of us do, we go through life in a hypnotic state where I thought it was normal. I didn't even question it, that I was longing for men who wanted nothing to do with me because they lived somewhere else, or, you know, they didn't really want anything to do with me, and I longed after them. And I've done that since I was a kid. And I thought that was normal. It was just what I did. I didn't question it. I just felt a lot of pain around it. And that's what I think a lot of these people pleasers do. I think a lot of us go through life in this hypnotic state of going through certain motions and that pain us, and not really knowing that we're in a hypnotic state. So I'm trying to wake up to my programming. And a lot of that is my feelings. And one time this friend of mine said, why do you want to be with guys who want nothing to do with you? I'm like, that kind of woke me up out of that hypnotic state. I'm like, oh, that's a choice I'm making, and it's not normal, because I was wondering why she likes to be with guys that want to argue with her, because I'd never want that. So that kind of woke me up. It's really hard to wake up from our own hypnotic state. That's the problem. The only way is to start noticing our feelings and trusting our feelings, because when I'm longing for guys who want nothing to do with me, the truth of it is I'm distraught. If I'm distraught, this is not the good relationship for me. You know, I'm noticing this person isn't responding to me. Oh, well, I don't like to be treated that way. So, see, what I used to do was I would find a certain guy, and it could be a guy I met or a guy I saw online or a guy I had hooked up with. I don't hook up anymore, but when I did, and I would be like, that's the guy. I like this guy. And then I would have all these different unhealthy response mechanisms, or how to get him fawning mechanisms. You know, if I just let him know I like him, he'll like me. Or I had all these unhealthy ways of behaving and longing and crying, and I was internally distressed, focusing on how to get this guy to like me, how to be okay with being ignored. And especially in my marriage, I did a lot of this trying to be okay with not having my needs met, trying to figure out how to be okay with this, trying to figure out how to handle my feelings, finding like inappropriate ways of dealing with my feelings. It was like very painful for me. And my focus was, on my marriage, how to stay in this marriage, or how to get this guy, or how to deal with my feelings, because my focus was on this person. But now, in the last few months, what I've really learned is how to trust my feelings. And now the focus is in here, and how do I feel? Because see, before I didn't trust my feelings. I would think, what's wrong with me for feeling this way? How can I be okay with this situation even though I'm so distressed? That was the problem. But now that I focus on my feelings, I'm actually a lot more powerful. And that doesn't mean I go raging with people, not at all. It means that I'm a lot more powerful, because I can be like, I feel like this guy's kind of manipulating me. I'm not interested. Or, this guy isn't replying to me, so I'm not interested. And I'll be like, I notice you're not replying to me, so I'm not really interested anymore. Just like that. Or, oh, I thought you wanted to go on a hike, but now you're telling me you just want to come over. I don't think that's very respectful towards me, so I'm not interested anymore. Or I notice that I'm not really that attracted to you, and this is why. This is what I'm noticing. Just do with it whatever you want, So now that I put the focus on my feelings and honoring my feelings, I feel like I've gained a lot more peace around relating to other people. Don't get me wrong, people still annoy me. I get annoyed with people sometimes, especially guys that are trying to come at me on online situations, and I get annoyed. Then I'm getting annoyed. This person isn't for me because I'm feeling annoyed, They're not treating me with respect. That's why I feel annoyed. Because when men treat me with disrespect, or they're trying to talk to me without introducing themselves, I feel annoyed. So that's because they're not being respectful. They're not introducing themselves. Or, I don't feel sexually attracted to you. Why is that? So that one is hard to figure out, and that's what inspired this video. Is when I don't feel sexually attracted to a man who's very kind and everything, because he doesn't own a sexual energy. So that's there for me. So I just want to share that. And that's why I wanted to make this video, because I think a lot of men may not realize that's an issue for women. A lot of women may not realize where they're not attracted to the guy. But there's a whole big section on the internet and books written about men who are people pleasers and who are nice guys. I'm sure there are women who are people pleasers too. I don't really know about that. But I think I learned a lot about people pleasing too from my mom. She was a codependent. She was a people pleaser. And I vowed to never be like that. Yeah, when guys seek my approval, it's like sexual repulsion, actually. And I don't know how to explain it. I was trying to explain it in this video, but it's a very animalistic thing that I want to feel like you're in control of yourself, like you're a little bit edgy, badass, like you don't care what I think. You're just being you. That's the thing. We all have to go into dating situations being like, this is who I am. I realize I have an impact on you, so I'm not going to be rude or disrespectful, but I'm going to be who I am. And I'm a person with emotions, thoughts, and sexual desires, and I'm owning it. And I like this, and I don't like that, and I'm not going to negate any of that just to get your approval. I am going to own my whole humanity. And our whole humanity, you guys, includes our sexual expression. I will tell you, I'm going to go off on a little tangent here, that people who hide their sexuality, it comes out in weird ways for a lot of guys. Have you seen these ministers who are like, no homosexuality, or the politicians, homosexuality is a sin. And then they're caught in a sting operation with some gay guy or gay prostitute or something. or they have a gay lover on the side, or they're doing things with kids because they haven't owned their sexuality. I've also talked to men who don't masturbate. They want to save their seed. In my opinion, okay, do what you want. This is my video, my opinion. In my opinion, it's creepy as fuck when men don't want to ejaculate. It's creepy. We as women, we like to see like a normal, healthy male masculinity. Like when you, maybe it's a tantra thing that I know nothing about. I could just be ignorant. But I've talked to men who don't masturbate because they feel like it preserves their sexual energy. But they're also weird. There's something weird about those guys. Like a healthy guy should be like, I own my sexuality and I like to come all over your titties once in a while. Okay? Don't write to me telling me you want to do that to me. I'm just giving you examples here. You got to own that you have emotions. A lot of guys suppress their anger because they don't think they should feel it. Okay, let yourself get angry. Blow your anger out into your boundary. And then when it's released, then deal with the situation at hand. You've got to learn how to handle your anger. You've got to learn how to handle your physicality. You've got to learn how to be in command of your sexuality. And to the extent that men suppress that, they're not going to be attractive to a woman who likes a masculine man. And we have a need for more masculine men. Another thing that masculine men should do, you got to know how to build a campfire. You got to know how to camp in the woods. You got to have some masculine skills, like know how to open the hood of a car, know how to change a tire, know how to fix things around the house, know how to do some gardening, know how to protect a woman, like have some physical strength. Like we're still animals. And to the extent people are told like we're gender neutral, that's just so much bullshit. You know, women, healthy women, in my opinion, we crave submitting to a man. And how can I submit when you're just looking for my approval? I can't. You know, now those, I would love for the men who have a healthy sexuality and all that. If you guys can explain it better to the guys who are the people pleasers, please do, because I'm trying here and I don't know if I got it across. You know, and also I also want to say to men that you deserve to be treated with adoration and respect. So I'm not saying that you should just date whatever woman. You get to be choosy too. And I think what men really want, they want a woman who is attractive, who is playful, who's happy with herself, who's excited to see him, who's interested in him, and who's sexually attracted to him. You know, I want to give a man all that. I want to be sexual with the guy that I'm dating. I want that so much. But if I don't feel that, I got to start asking, why don't I feel that? And that's where I come up across what's common with a lot of guys these days, you know? And a lot of you men are taught the wrong thing. You're either taught toxic masculinity by guys like Andrew Tate, or you're taught by the angry feminists that your masculinity is bad, so you suppress it. You got to find the center balance, and you get to decide what it is. You know, you got to find your own way into being like the peaceful warrior. Whatever happened to like the Boy Scouts, the peaceful warrior, you know, the guy that can fight, but he doesn't have to, and he's in command of his cock. I always tell guys this: you got to bring your cock with you all the time. Into every dating situation, you got to bring your cock with you. And when you're in a relationship with a woman, you got to keep that sexual energy going. You got to see her as a sexual being also. If you never see me as a sexual being, I don't feel your sexual energy. Like, I want to feel it, you know? But again, the guys that only see a woman as a sexual being are turn off. And the guys that never see a woman as a sexual being because they don't want to insult her, they want to be respectful, that doesn't build any sexual excitement. You got to be in the middle. You got to own your sexuality and express it in a way that's healthy. And that's up to you to define. It's up to you as men to own your sexuality, not like, oh, you know, I'm the priest, you know, gay sex is bad, and then you're abusing the boys, you know, in the choir room. Because you didn't own your sexuality, you suppressed it. Okay, you got to own your sexuality and you got to express it consensually with people who want it. But abusing people with it or hiding it are both unhealthy ways. Okay? So this video is made to teach men because we women want men to act like men. So do not listen to these angry feminists, okay? Do not listen to them, because if they don't like men, don't ever listen to women who hate men tell you what women want. Don't listen to that's why I don't listen to the manosphere guys anymore, because they hate women. So why am I going to listen to that? So I think I'm coming from a place of, I might be wrong, okay? I might be wrong on everything I said. However, I will tell you that I like men, and I want to be attracted to men, and I would love to date men. It's just really hard to find in Southern California men who are manly, own their sexuality, and are in touch with their emotions. It's really hard to find, and who are single, because usually they're already all in a relationship. So that's really hard to find. But I would love to find that. And so anyway, thank you so much for watching my video.